The Defender's Heart is a splendid choice for the Crusades outpost. The very sight of these walls brings back fond memories of drinks and revels. The drinks were really good, by the way. You mean instead of carousing far away from Canobers with a small army of mercenaries to protect me? I will get to that. You see, when you appeared at my door out of nowhere, awash with bravery and heroism, and started tossing demons around like rag dolls, I thought that your company might be more exciting than my usual crowd of sycophantic hangers-on. You seemed competent and mysterious at the same time, so I decided that a little demon hunting wouldn't hurt, especially with such an intriguing entourage. That party had been growing staler with every passing second anyway. Needless to say, I'm not here for long. I shall return to the capital or even one of my country estates as soon as we reclaim the city. Crusades, bellowing commanders, row upon row of identical tents, this is not the life for me, but I will certainly remember you and our adventures together. For a week, or perhaps even longer than that. Ask, I'm all ears. Quite the opposite. When I think about how many devoted heroes are willing to protect this world against the demonic threat, I feel so inspired. Inspired to continue indulging my vices while they fight to keep me safe. Imagine being someone like me. Someone who has everything they can possibly desire: youth, beauty, wealth, an honest wish to live and enjoy living, but vanishingly few ways to put it all to any use. The fact that the word fun itself is not yet outlawed in Mendef must be due to some bureaucratic oversight. You can celebrate your victories solemnly, you can wet your whistle after a challenging battle, but what about real fun? Joys, pleasures. I can't remember a single evening at court without someone chastening me for my banquets, my lovers and mistresses, my luxuriant clothes, my everything. It would have been a lot easier to tolerate all those hypocrites if they took a break once in a while. Instead there was a constant fuss about how I wasn't doing anything for the greater good and how I only brought shame to my royal cousin. It doesn't exist. Duran scowls. It is a frontier country that has attracted every utopian, adventurer, and fanatic from all over the world for more than a century. It is a place where the strangers outnumber the locals, especially in the cemeteries. The population of Mendef, for the most part, consists of humans and other races not exactly known for their longevity, so the current generation of Mendevians were born in the shadow of the world wound and raised by the Crusades. I might be the last person to complain about the decline of traditions and lack of character in our country, but I also happen to come from one of Mendef's most ancient lineages. Its history is bred deep in my bones. My tutors told me stories about my heritage. The galleries, libraries, and even the interiors of the manors I grew up in were filled to the brim with memories of events long past. There are many heroes of old Mendef among my glorious ancestors, or at the very least patrons and contemporaries of such heroes. Does anyone actually remember them now? I don't think so. These days Mendef has its own heroes, in shining armor and with holy fire in their eyes. I myself remember how several streets that once celebrated my ancestors were renamed in honor of some crusaders who had died in a heroic fashion. None of the citizens remember the old crossing festival that was eventually replaced by Armas. These holidays even share the same date. Pretty much the only authentic thing about Mendef now is its endless war with the demons. And is there a point in bemoaning this state of affairs? What's gone is gone, but at least we are no longer some tiny god-forsaken northern kingdom, and that's something, isn't it? Do you mean the demons themselves or their followers? The former deserve to be cleansed with heavenly fire for their unholy origin alone, and the latter for their idiocy. I don't understand why a sane person would submit themselves to Descari or Cabriri. Alright, Lady Nocticula almost seems like a bearable enough mistress, yet there are so many other cultists. They've tried to recruit me twice already, and I'm not even that old. First, a very pretty tiefling girl tried to seduce me, then they came with promises of Lord Baphomet's endless boons. I still wonder what exactly the old hornhead could offer me that I don't already have. You know what I've been thinking? Every shopkeeper knows this trick, an enticing offer along the lines of, 1 in every 100 buns from my bakery contains a silver coin. And, of course, a hired actress to make a memorable show of finding said coin in her sweet roll. And there you have it, hundreds of gullible fools storm the shop hoping to win a prize for themselves. I think the infamous Aurelia Forlesh was such an actress for the Lords of the Abyss. A petty Sarkorian witch who became the uncrowned queen of the world wound, waited upon hand and foot by demon lords. Only instead of visiting a bakery, the gullible fools rushed to join the cultists. We have an army of unbelievably powerful supernatural invaders from another dimension hell-bent on destruction and domination, and what do those fools do? They serve them willingly as pawns and lackeys, hoping against hope that someday their masters will notice them. You won't believe how delighted I am to be so vain and self-absorbed. These sins protect me against demonic temptation better than any virtue. Wonderful. You can try. The feeling of helplessness. The lack of control over my own life. Durin replies without thinking. Then he adds, with obvious sarcasm. And onion rings, of course. I'd murder the person who came up with those abominations. I hope you don't feel obliged to offer me your insincere condolences on this unfortunate occasion. My whole family, my entire noble line, they all died. And demons are to blame. It's not like I actually loved any of my relatives except for my mother, but what's gone is gone. The family crypts are full of corpses, all covered in dust and the shadows of the past. Yes. There are far too many things that I cherish to fit them all into a single conversation. Believe it or not, but I might be one of the most life-loving people you've ever known. Durin smiles. His eyes are gleaming with something different from his usual impudence and irony. There's a dreamy air about him all of a sudden. I rarely meet anyone who embraces the joys of living as enthusiastically as myself. There are so many exciting and beautiful things in the world, it should be illegal to waste your time on anything you do not enjoy. And I am not afraid to repeat that to anyone's face, should it be Deskari and his demonic herd, or Iomade the Lightbringer herself. If you really want to try out everything life has to offer, you also have to understand how to deal with the consequences. And I'm not talking about a simple hangover, mind you. I've got plenty, but I have to warn you that even the most outrageous debauchery sounds far less thrilling when you were not the one doing the debauching. Still, since you asked, I suppose the worst mess I've ever got myself into was when I staged my own kidnapping. I was once in correspondence with one of the Riverlands nobles, the young Lord Labita, and he told me about his days as a hostage to a group of bandits. This made me wonder what it would be like, and I thought that it might be fun to set up a little experiment. I engineered my own kidnapping by a certain gang through a chain of intermediaries and hired actors. Those fellows took the job very seriously, they caught me by surprise, killed my 2 bodyguards, and even tied me up. Of course, the whole thing seems preposterous now, but it seemed like an ingenious idea at the time. The employers had told the kidnappers that they were to keep me safe and sound, and another group of mercenaries in disguise was watching the spectacle from afar, ready to interfere in case anything went wrong. It turned out to be a terrible idea nonetheless. It wasn't the least bit fun or exciting. Sure, those bandits had been unable to torture or hurt me physically in any way, but they had plenty of other, non-invasive methods of humiliation in their arsenal. Taking almost all of your clothes off and splashing ice-cold water all over you, for example. Look. I can't even remember if I said anything truly offensive to provoke them. Even though I initially planned to let them go after the ransom, their overly emotional reactions made me change my mind. I told my mercenaries to hang them all on the spot. I suppose the whole ordeal taught me a valuable lesson, which is that I am not built for hardships and trials. I shall console myself with that thought. So that was a stupid story, and now I'll tell you a truly brilliant one. Prelate Hilrun had always strictly prohibited any public celebrations in Kenabers, and he always picked on me for my lack of respect for the fallen and whatnot. His grumbling annoyed me so much that one day I drove 4 barges into the city harbor and set up a celebration on their decks. The ships on the river didn't fall under the prelate's jurisdiction, you see, so all he could do was snarl at me from the embankment. I for one did not forget the old boy. The main attraction of the festivities involved an inquisitor of Iomade dancing and roasting beautiful witches on illusory bonfires, taking off his clothes with every new victim. The spectacle was so heated, in every sense of the word, that the prelate almost had a stroke. Durin gives you a mischievous smile. I still consider that one of my finest ideas of all time. Should the Crusaders ever succeed in their efforts against the world wound, I will do my utmost to get permission to hold a grand public celebration. Rivers of wine, free of charge. An obligatory parade and a carnival in the evening. A contest for the most provocative succubus costume with a hefty prize in gold. Another contest where the participants have to fish a sausage out of a wine jar blindfolded with their hands tied behind their backs. The wine will symbolize the blood of all the dead heroes of the war, and the sausage, well, they'll find a heroic meaning for that as well. Over the years, the commemoration of the greatest victory of light over darkness will turn into an ordinary holiday, a fine excuse to get sloshed and rut like animals in the streets. Duran laughs. This time his smile is surprisingly soft. I like your way with words. What did you expect me to say if I wanted to make a good impression? Something along the lines of, I'm not mean, I'm just being honest with myself and everyone else. That's what people use as an excuse when they want to keep up their saccharine facade while still saying whatever nasty little thoughts spring to mind. That is not what I do. I have no hidden agenda, I'm just as much of an insufferable prick as I seem to be. Some people are simply begging for a good dose of mockery, so who am I to deny them? I don't give a damn if anyone holds a grudge against me, which is why I don't even try to avoid it. I hope this conversation was at least the slightest bit amusing.
Every scientist thinks their field research is going to continue forever. But as the saying goes, at the end of the day, we must all compile our bibliography and references.
aside.
I'll tell you, why not? Everyone knows the story, you see, but you could say that I'm the one who found it, in a way. The Arandes are a very wealthy and ancient line, and they hail from the outlying areas of Canabers. That's where the Arande family seat is, along with their ancestral lands. In the past, if Mendaf was ever feuding with Sarkoris, or some clan from there was causing trouble, the Count and Countess Arande were the ones who would defend the border with their soldiers. Their main residence was called Heaven's Edge. It still stands to this day, north of here, on the road toward Drazen. But no one lives there now. Around 10 or so years ago, there was a grand celebration held at the estate. The mother and the guardian of the current count invited the great and the good to celebrate his birthday. The entire Arande clan was there, as well as many other nobles. And then, without warning, the demons struck. Clearly, they couldn't ignore such a perfect opportunity to cut down so many of Mendaf's great dynasties in one fell swoop. There was even a chance that the queen herself would make an appearance, for she was related to the count as well. Well, when no news came from the estate, a troop of inquisitors was sent to investigate. They forced open the gates and discovered a manor full of corpses. They all perished. Joran says sorrowfully. The servants, the guards, the guests, including some of Iomada's chosen clerics and paladins. The demons had unleashed a magical plague, terrifying and strange, the likes of which hadn't been seen before, or since. And among all this was young Duran Arande, the only survivor. The Count had a talent for divine magic since his youth, healing magic in particular, and that must be why he didn't die along with the rest. He couldn't explain how he survived the disease. I saw him that day, when they brought him into the city, pale and barely conscious of his surroundings. So that's the story. Since then, Heaven's Edge has stood abandoned, sealed off to the outside world. People are still afraid to go near the place. Claim seems remarkably at ease. His face is untroubled, as if his life and the lives of everyone else in the tavern aren't hanging by a thread, as he reads a dog-eared book and makes notes in the margins. He notices you, looks up from the page, and gives you an amiable nod. Claim closes the book and shows you the cover, Selected passages from the letters of Saint Lemiren. It's amazing how humble she was. She could have been the high priestess of the Church of Iomede if she'd wanted to. Power was hers for the taking. But clearly it wasn't a temptation for her. Reading these letters, I understand why Iomede made Lemiren one of her servants after she died. I'm from Talder. I began serving Nethys from a very young age. I swept the temple, dusted the books, and I studied. I dreamed of becoming a theurge, but for whatever reason, no matter how well I performed magic or how devoutly I prayed, I could never combine those two strengths. And then I came across my Emir's book about the application of magic in the struggle against the demons. And her words revealed a great secret to me, that faith is dead without deeds. That anyone who seeks knowledge for its own sake, or power, or glory, will not achieve anything unless they direct it toward a worthy purpose. I renounced Nethys and swore myself to Iomede. I crossed an entire continent to meet Lady Myamir and ask her to take me on as her student. And it was here, in this accursed land, fighting against the forces of the abyss, that I finally realized the true purpose of magic and prayer. I became a theurge because I finally had a reason to become one. Nethys, also known as the All-Seeing Eye, is a Garandi god who holds knowledge and magic above all things. He gained enough power to witness all things, and this both fueled his divinity and shattered his mind. He is a god of magic, torn between destroying the world with one hand and saving it with the other. She's my teacher. Claim responds simply. Without her, I wouldn't be who I am today. Our order devotes itself to mystical research and the pursuit of secret knowledge. We spend just as much time on spells as we do on prayers and weapons drills. At the end of the day, our enemy is not of this world, which means that to fight it we need knowledge that is not of this world either. There is one ritual that we've been wanting to test for a long time. If it works as it should, we can offer you an effect similar to a haste spell, not for a handful of seconds, but for scores of minutes, maybe even hours. Be careful. Our foes like to pretend to be our friends.
What in the name of the Green Mother's going on in this crazy town? Who's in charge here? You there in the armor? Or is it you, tavern keeper? Or maybe it's you, old-timer? Oh, you, I remember. You were in that ravaged fortress with all the books. You can explain all this to me. Well? You're good. All right. First things first. If by some chance you don't already know, they call me Ulbrich. Ulbrich Olesk. Chief of the Olesk clan. The one that gave Barzog's orcs a drubbing. What, never heard of them either. I'll be damned. Is this an illusion or something? One minute I'm laying myself down for a nap in a glade one summer's day, and the next I'm waking up among ruins and flames and monsters running riot. And no one knows me. But you see, my name's famous across Sarkoris. Where in the blazes am I? What's going on here?
Olesk. Barzog's orcs? These names mean nothing to you. One thing is clear, this man does not know that Sarkoris has fallen.
Now, let me think. Strange that the memory's in there, but it's all broken up in little pieces. So, I opened my eyes, I saw books and stones around me, and you were there. Then I was flying over the city. I had wings. And then I was in this here tavern, and then I saw you again. A statue, you say? strange. I don't remember being turned to stone. But if it looked like a griffin, then it must have been me. Take a gander at this. Don't worry, I won't scratch you. I'm no werewolf, I'm a shifter. My powers were granted to me by the sacred griffin Erevar, who protects our clan. I doubt you've got any other griffins flying about this city of yours. The door would have been smarter, right enough. I was asleep too long, that must be it. My head's all muddled. I remember I was flying over the city looking for something, and when I found it, I just drove straight for it. Roads and roofs be damned. But what was I looking for? Drinks? Warriors? Oh, that's not it. Or maybe you. Was I looking for you? That's what I'm saying to you. I was plucked like a fish from a pond and carried off to God's nowhere. All right, that's enough questions from you. Now answer some of mine. Where am I, and what's going on here? You overplayed your hand there. No hope here, you say. Demons invading after lunch and dragons at every full moon, no doubt. And this moon of yours, I'll bet it's made of cheese. Fine. If you don't want to tell me what's going on, don't. We're in a tavern, not in the middle of nowhere. There's plenty of folks around. I'm sure one of these people will tell me what's happening here. There's one thing I do know without asking. You've got a tough fight on your hands. I'm not one to wait on an invitation to a brawl, so if you're making ready to break some demon horns, I'm going with you. But in the meantime, I'm gonna have a taste of whatever ale they brew here.
Never a dull moment.
Oh, yes, what?
I heed the voice of the spirits.
I appreciate privacy.
Don't mind me.
The eyes of a young lad peer out at you from under the massive helmet. At this proximity, it is obvious that his armor is ill-fitting and mismatched, and the helmet specifically is either very poorly made or a theater prop. Pardon me, I saw you with that shawl. Does this mean that you're a friend of Arankus? What am I saying? Of course it does. So. The young man's speech is interrupted by the arrival of a new cast of characters. People in the robes of Iomeda's inquisitors appear from all sides, surrounding him. Adepthal of the Temple of Desna, you are under arrest on suspicion of treason and aiding the demons. You have 1 minute to come quietly. Drag your feet, and we'll count that as an attempt to resist justice. Prelate Hilrun appears behind his people. And here's the traitor who almost corrupted the wardstone with his magic. You didn't think that the disorder and demonic presence in the city would distract us from pursuing traitors, did you? The youth's eyes go wide and he says nothing, clearly not knowing what to do. On the contrary, Now is the perfect time to catch the demon's accomplices while they're overconfident and letting their mask slip. Elrond frowns in distaste at your words. Seize the troublemaker, ignore any bystanders. Desperation sparks in the young man's eyes. Desna, stay with me until the last. Well, what do you want? I'm busy. The demons in this hole could strike at any moment. So, you're defending the traitor? I have your measure now, demon collaborator. To arms. Death to traitors. Kill the demon worshipper.
Should have listened to reason.
Out of my sight!
I'll split you in half!
Who, me?
How much longer, I wonder?
Oh, skip the pleasantries.
Lisan, done.
Follow me, or don't.
As soon as the supplies for the festivities had been brought into the city and the heralds had spread the news throughout the localities, the celebration began. Thousands of Kenaborians took to the streets to hail their stalwart defenders. Trumpeters and drummers opened the procession, with the orders following behind, the Crusader brethren with their gleaming steel and their banners flying high. The first to come were the ever-bright Crusaders, the most virtuous and righteous of all Kenabors' defenders. So deep was their devotion that, when confronted with the shouted greetings and the glinting of adoring eyes, many of the knights began to pray as though attempting to ward off sinful pride. Leading the contingent and flanked by higher-ranking crusaders was the Order's commander, the esteemed WotR Kobalen, who is a father to his soldiers and a mentor to his recruits. Next came the Order of the Flaming Lance, those indefatigable persecutors of evil and vice, renowned for their doggedness and fortitude. A heavy shadow veiled the faces of those crusaders, who too often have witnessed the monstrous nightmares of the world wound and who daily risk their very souls in service of the vulnerable and defenseless. Commander Myamir, famed for her scholarship and sagacity, marched with the Order's rank and file. The procession continued with the Crusaders of the Order of the Sunrise Sword. At the sight of their banners, many in the crowd began singing songs and ballads composed long ago by the valiant souls of this order. The spark of inspiration that once breathed life into poetry and odes has grown among the members of this order into a blaze of righteous purpose, which has allowed it to wage war against the abyss with ever greater success. Ashus Striger led his order, nodding to the welcoming crowds. Also in evidence among the pennants of the orders were those of the Inquisitors, the followers of Prelate Hilrun, relentless witch hunters who devote their days and nights to punishing traitors and heretics. Bringing up the rear of the parade, under the command of Irabeth Tirabade, was the unassuming Eagle Watch, who apply their talents to sniffing out enemy spies in the city. The Eagle Watch was the humblest of all the orders in attendance, surpassed by all the rest in both size and splendor. Proceeding past the gates, the cavalcade made its way through the city's streets to the Guard of Honor waiting to greet the noble heroes along with Turendaleth herself in propria persona. I'm not going to run. Kill me if you wish, but, I ask you, hear me out first. I can't imagine someone would go so far as to kill you, Ramian. Your gaggle of good little worshippers wouldn't allow such sacrilege to come to pass. Why didn't you think to seek refuge with me? I would have helped, out of solidarity for a fellow Asimar, and to relieve that one summer's eve. Duran smiles slightly wistfully. Duran. The priest seems to have only just noticed your companion. You are traveling in unexpected company. But to answer your question, I never considered trying to save myself. I wanted to help the people of the city. I refused to idly wait out the storm just to amuse you. Not even for the sake of that one summer's eve. Yes, that is a common affliction among clerics, it seems. Now is no time for selfish pleasure. Our city is burning and the prelate has lost all reason. The Asimar brings his hands together in a brief prayer. I am sorry for this. Really, I am truly sorry. Hilrun did not understand what he was doing, and he did so much harm, but he sincerely believed that he was fighting for the good of the city and the entire crusade movement. In another position, he could have done so much good. What other tidings do you bring? I don't want to believe that Kenabers has fallen, that everyone is dead and there is no one left to fight. Please, tell me, are there pockets of resistance still left in the city, where I can be of some use? Commander Tirabade? I do not know her personally, but her wife Anavia is a regular worshipper at our temple. I would be glad to aid them in this fight. Thank you for listening to me and defending me. I will go now to the Defender's Heart, I hope to see you there. May Desna keep you.
was never good at stealth, but I'll try.
My tail is restless. Cover me, all right?
Samir, then.
I'm always open to ideas.
You're irrelevant.
I will help where I can. No glory without risk!
I'll cut you wide open! The spirits demand your blood!
Make way. Don't know? Don't care.
Open your heart to me.
Smile. The world's not ending just yet.
Are we ready to move out?
How much longer, I wonder?
Savitur. Rashad Savitur. Magritio, Turinos. Magritium Turinos.
Follow me! Or don't. Move aside. I don't need anyone's sympathy. Make way.
Stab you or zap you? Why not both?
No time for debates.
So this is how it feels.
I don't like you!
Mind over muscle.
So this is how it feels.
Magritium Turinos. Sabitur.
Out of my way!
Magrigium, Turinos.
Experiment Day 1. Today I was able to catch a quasit. Irari be my witness, it wasn't easy, considering my humble physical condition. Luckily, it was a scrawny specimen, about 7 pounds, with a wingspan of about 2 1/3 feet. When it awoke, the quasit first tried to attack me, and then ruined my clothes with his caustic saliva. Experiment Day 3. I have begun my linguistic research. My goal is to study the language of quasits. I'm quite convinced they have their own dialect. Through understanding their speech, I will be able to understand their way of thinking, and convince them to rebel against their lord's tyranny. A revolution will roll through the abyss, and the powerless will rebel against their oppressors. I'm sure that Everbloom Milani will not refuse her patronage even to such creatures as these, if they would break their chains of slavery. Unfortunately, progress is thus far insignificant. I've been able to catalog only 2 words, which I suspect must mean rend and carrion. The quasit formed both words quite vividly when commenting on my person. While I was entering this record, the quasit managed to steal my watch and throw it into the chamber pot. Judging by his spiteful giggling, he's quite delighted about his little joke. And despite the naughty trick, I am somewhat glad. Jokes and pranks are a part of cognitive communication, which I fully intend to establish with the specimen. I grow more and more convinced that I made the right decision in leaving Absalom and Fori Logos, the so-called wise house. More like narrow-minded fools stuck in the past, under the sway of their ringleader, that chatterbox, the fool of fools, Jubilos Narthruppel. They've never appreciated the progressive nature of my theories. Experiment Day 4.
What's on your mind?
Today the quasit almost bit my nose off while I fed him. In response, to my shame, I beat him with a wand. Such behavior toward a sentient being is unacceptable, and I repent deeply. I've also run out of meat. The specimen and I will have to make do with porridge and soup. Experiment Day 6. It's been 3 days since the specimen switched to a vegetarian diet. At first the quasit refused to eat plant-based food, but then ate some cabbage soup and poked at the porridge with his claw. His face looked so tragic. Experiment Day 7. The specimen has completely lost all signs of aggression. At dawn I was awoken by his moaning. The quasit was rolled up in a ball in the corner, whimpering. Despite his dangerous appearance, it's quite impossible not to feel compassion toward the poor creature. I had to take prompt measures and give the specimen a laxative potion.
Where else would I be?
The quasit now reacts to me with confusion and fear, but at least it's not suffering anymore. His gastrointestinal tract must have reacted unhappily to the unfamiliar diet. Experiment Day 10. What a great day. The switch to a completely plant-based diet is complete. The theory that quasits can only eat meat and carrion has been disproven. My eternal opponent, Sergio Belost, will just have to go drown himself in a river. The quasit has become peaceful and easygoing. He no longer tries to eat my boots, or the feet inside them. The specimen's behavior has become gentle and friendly. He shows some interest in ball games and physical exercise. I have named him Pecker. Today he initiated communication, and attempted to explain a new word to me. By all evidence, he was making up the word during the communication process, for there has never been such a word in the quasit language. The meaning, as I understand it, is safety, comfort, and calm. I see no further need to keep Pecker on his chain. This experiment has convinced me that the vicious and evil traits attributed to quasits are acquired habits, not natural or inherent to their nature. Over these days I really have grown fond of him. And by all evidence, Pecker likes me too. He's gotten used to napping on my knee while I'm writing my observations in my journal. Maybe someday this quasit will become my familiar. The current stage of the experiment is complete. Pecker and I are soon off to Absalom, to present our findings before the professors at Fori Logos and become a scientific sensation. On our way, we may make a small detour to Avistan, so that Pecker will have a chance to better adapt to civilization. I hope the little trickster enjoys the journey.
It should work. Is it flawed?
Did I mess up again?
Now what?
Missed me already.
Heads will roll!
Distract them for me!
Yes.
I'll watch your back.
Into the fray!
You are today's
I'll
sacrifice!
split you in half!
We will win this war.
Skip the pleasantries.
This will leave a bruise.
Cover me, all right?
I'll split you in half!
Excruciating.
Madrid, Turin.
So this is how it feels.
The demon puts 2 plates on the table in front of me. On each, a bleeding human heart. Look, he says. The right one belongs to a noble and righteous man, a loyal servant of Iomity. The left one is the heart of a murderer and a scoundrel. But something tells me they taste exactly the same. I remain silent and don't move. I couldn't if I tried. One of my hands is pinned to the wide armrest, with the knife thrust to the hilt. The other similarly pinned helpless on the table. The demon circles and carefully brushes away a strand of hair that stuck to my forehead. Your silence saddens me. Don't waste your time on this performance, monster, I say, though I have scarcely the energy to breathe. If you wish to torture me, go ahead. If you want to kill me, then kill me. My life is in your hands. But my soul is not, and never will be. The hearts on the plates in front of me continue oozing blood. They've only just been ripped from their owners' bodies. The right one, apparently, belonged to my partner, the left, to the criminal we were escorting. But the demon, who'd set his lair in the old mill, killed without discrimination. He walks around the armchair, and stops behind my back, placing a clawed hand on my shoulder. This is not a performance at all. It's a feast, and I will be sated. No, not with this. He can see my eyes still on the hearts. With you.
We will win.
It's your heart that's in front of me right now. So helpless, the claws on my shoulder tighten a bit.
I'm here.
Goddess,
Where else would I be?
help me endure. After a moment, the demon continues. You know what you
Something
don't
wrong.
understand, you zealous servants of law and good. He seems to like the sound of his own voice.
I refuse to accept
It
their
was you who
statement.
brought us to your land. The more of
Cover
you
me,
who
all right?
gather here, at the edge of the world wound, so brave, burning with righteous wrath, the more like me will come from the abyss. It's not because we want to win a war and conquer your world. Perhaps our lords want this, but trust me, they are as far removed from their subjects as your lords and kings are from you. No, we come for those like you. For the persistent and the proud, who won't break until the end. For those whose suffering is sweet and lasts and
Abby or
lasts.
Zacchaeus? Why not
For the
both?
sweets. He appears in front of me again,
Into
licking
the
his
fray.
lips. I well know that he'll never grant me a quick death.
The light take you.
A short, hooded figure is poking about some bodies lying in the middle of the street. The stranger drags the first body off the road, respectfully props it up against a wall, and places the corpse's hands on its chest. The figure then freezes, as if hesitating, and you see him reach out his hand toward the beautiful gold amulet hanging around the corpse's neck. He jerks his hand back, hesitates, then reaches out again. The stranger almost jumps out of his skin and the hood falls from his head. Under a mop of red curls, a round halfling face looks up at you. Oh. Phew. I thought you were demons. Gee, good day to you, good sir. Sela's eyebrows lift in apparent surprise.
Curl. Is that you?
The halfling looks at Sela and smiles broadly. Oh, Lady Sela. You're alive. Goodness me, that's the second bit of good news on an otherwise lousy day.
What was the first bit of good news?
Stick around and see for yourself.
Meet Rimby, better known as Curl. He hails from Kenabers, and he fights in the Condemned. He's one of a kind, a rogue with a heart of gold.
Sela smiles, then adds a little more seriously.
Curl, it's probably none of my business, but you should ask yourself if what you were about to do is right.
The halfling's cheeks flush, and he hides his hands behind his back. I didn't, I just thought, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm afraid not, good sir. I just left the defender's heart. Before that, I was holed up in there, too scared to leave. Although spending all that time under Commander Arabetha's nose sure was something. She's a strict one, WotR. And when she gets antsy. Don't even start. I've had enough of her breathing down my neck to last me a lifetime. No. The halfling protests. Rimby Curl may be a rogue, but he doesn't loot corpses. I just need to get these poor lads' bodies off the road. My friends and I are on a terribly important mission, and we need to get through. He is interrupted by the sound of wheels rolling on the paving stones. A cart drawn by a sad little horse appears from around the corner. A pretty half-elf is driving it, and a young man in knight's armor is walking alongside. Even from a distance, you can see his tanned face and his blue eyes shining brightly. The halfling straightens up. See. A terribly important and very heroic mission. My friends and I are saving a beer cart from the demons. As he's speaking, the newcomers notice you, and the knight cries out in jubilation. Seela. I never thought I'd see you again. I thought you were headed to the main square, the center of the demons' attack. The half-elf smiles warmly at Seela.
Hey, friend. Glad to see you're all right. When we got separated by the crowd at the celebration, I knew right away that something was wrong. And when demons appeared all of a sudden, I realized that was the reason why I'd been so anxious. But I couldn't find you among the dead in the square, so I kept my hopes up, and I was proved right.
Seela's face lights up with joy.
So you're the other bit of good news Curl was talking about. You and Jana are alive.
Actually, by good news I meant that we found the beer cart. Sir Ella and Jana being alive amounts to a quarter of a bit of good news. Well, maybe half. The half-elf winks rakishly.
Certainly. Give me your flask, friend. And if you walk with us to the Defender's Heart, we can have a more thorough sampling of the spoils there.
Despite the cheerful tone, she looks at you with anxious hope. Jana, there's no need. The heart is very close, and the three of us will be enough to fight off an attack if there is one. Besides, our friend here surely has better things to do. More important things than carrying barrels of beer, I'll wager. By the way, my name is Ella, Sir Ella of the Hound Hearts. I'm glad to meet someone who survived this madness. I'll save that story till we're all back at the Defender's Heart. You're going back there, aren't you? We'll have a reason to toast our spoils. So long. We're sure to meet again, either in the city or at the Defender's Heart.
Sure you will. Come to the tavern, we'll celebrate the valiant rescue of this barrel together.
Aside. Make way. Don't know? Don't care.
Watch it, watch it. What are you goons doing? You'll bloody crush me. A young tiefling lies trapped in a collapsed section of tunnel. Another two tieflings scramble around, trying in vain to free him from the rubble. Quit whining. Hey. Alarm. Someone's coming. Maybe he will help us. Wise up, would you, before you get us killed. Let's make a run for it while we still can. No. Come on. Don't leave me. I'll die here. Hey guys. I see you're in a bit of a jam. Get a load of this lot, and no escort neither. Woljif, you little shit, how are you not dead yet? And who's that with you? They're friends of mine, great guys. Woljif turns to you and, out of the corner of his mouth, says. Listen, do me a solid, help them drag his sorry carcass free. They'll repay you, cross my heart. Who, us? We're nobody, just simple citizens. We used to live here, but now. Yeah, we just lived our lives, didn't do nobody any harm, and then kaboom, the place falls about our ears. The tieflings are antsy. They're hiding something. Alright, don't hurt us. People call us the thieflings. We kinda skirt around the edges of the law, that's how we make our living. Say some tyrant bans books that show stuff he don't like, or fancy kyonin wine he don't drink, is it wrong if we step in to fill the gap in the market? If there's a demand for it, someone's got to sell it. To me, these fellows are the true unsung heroes of Canobers. My butler, may his decomposing remains rest easy in the gut of that demon, had a very high opinion of you. He said that you could get him whatever he wanted, things that had been banned, and things the authorities hadn't thought to ban yet. Yep, that's us. The tiefling grins smugly. Listen, buddy, so who are you? Wake up, you idiot. It's only the bloody count. What, for real? No way. Well, see, the thing is. Don't go thinking we're gangsters or anything. Our only concern is making the lives of citizens easier, for a little coin. People in the city can't even breathe without breaking some stupid regulation or restriction. Take this tunnel that collapsed on top of our friend, for instance. It leads straight to the Grey Garrison. Thanks to it, any soldier whose throat's feeling a little dry, or who's needing some nighttime reading material, we can get all the things for him that his heartless superiors refuse to. We're providing a public service. Enough talking, get these rocks off of me. You sent me down here for a goddamn crate of cognac, you idiots, now get me out. You easily clear the rubble and free the trapped tiefling. Whew, I'm alive. And all in one piece, give or take. Thank you, I'll remember your kindness for the rest of my life. The freed tiefling turns to his companions. And you two clowns, I don't want to hear a word out of you. Get into the tunnel now. One trip, just to the Grey Garrison and back. Don't be a coward, it's not going to collapse. Go, or else we came all this way for nothing. That ended well, didn't it? You what? Are you blind or something? The tiefling points at his horns and his tail. Know what people call us? Ariel is spawn, and that's one of the nicer nicknames. Crusaders and tieflings don't mix. We'll be torched on sight. Whoa, Tirabade. Irabeth Tirabade from the Eagle Watch. Lads, we have to help her. She's one of the only big shots in this town that actually treat us with any decency. Why should we risk our necks for the Crusaders? Because Irabeth risked her neck for ours. She saved me from that creep he'll run, yanked me straight out of his torture chamber. Only a worthless Torag would refuse to help her out after that. Nah. I'm not listening to any more of this. The tiefling makes a show of covering his ears. You do what you want, I'm heading for the River Kingdoms. Go on then. I'm going with the Crusaders. And I'm going to round up the others to help. The tiefling smirks. We've made some good money in the city, it'd be a shame to surrender our meal ticket to the demons. But enough yammering. So long.
I don't need anyone's sympathy. Follow me! Or don't. Move aside.
Don't mind me. Cover me, all right?
I appreciate privacy. I'll split you in half!
Shot, savvy tool.
I'll cut you wide open! The spirits demand your blood.
Magritte. Cool.